That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about episode 4 of The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, which that will be made available on Amazon August 11th, 2023.
This episode is titled
River Lily, which means love concealed.
More drama. I'm into it. So this episode, we see that Alice is all grown up. She appears to be 24.
23, 24. It's 14 years since the end of the last
Since last time we saw her. Mm-hmm. And she's running out of Thornfield, mad as hell. Mm-hmm. What is she mad about? Okay, so her little friend Augie
grew up to be
he's also grown up. And they fell in love.
Yes, they were going to elope.
And they were going to elope because, as we know, Augie is from Bulgaria and they are in Australia illegally. So they need to figure out what to do because they need to go back to Bulgaria. But he's telling Alice, if I go back, I can't return. So she says, well, why can't I just marry you?
She goes, I got you.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. But guess what happens?
On the night she's about to meet him at the river that they rendezvous at all the time.
Sigourney Weaver calls immigration to get Augie and his mom deported.
She has the audacity the next morning to be like, I'm so sorry.
And then
somebody
plays
called
dumb.
immigration.
Like that one meme of that cartoon, like, yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty messed up. But we know that Sigourney, June, you know, she runs a battered women's shelter. She won't even let her own grandson be a part of her life.
So initially, this 14 years, as I said, have passed, and she initially thinks she can see that Alice had went to get the mail at the post office and obviously read something she probably shouldn't have, and she thinks that's the other big secret she's keeping.
Okay, so June thinks that maybe Alice is mad because she found out that her brother is alive and well.
Charlie.
And living down the damn street.
With Sally.
But no, when she finds out, oh, she's just mad about Augie, she laughs it off. Like, that's all. Because Sigourney was not only... Poor Augie, after he got deported, was writing Alice all the time.
For 5 years.
And sending her emails that she was blocking. Sigourney even wrote a letter to Augie, pretending to be Alice, talking about Dear John, like, you know. So, of course, that's messed up. Alice is mad, so that's why she runs away.
Yeah, so she just runs. She picks a place on the map, a place called Agnes Bluff, which shares
named after her mother.
So that's where I must go. And immediately she now has a car or a truck with.
Well, it's the truck she learned to drive in.
Right, with her name on the side and stating that she's a florographer. She spray paints the hell out of that, slaps some butterfly decals on it, and picks up a stray dog.
So another important detail is Sigourney appears to have uterine cancer or cervical cancer. So, but we're told she's had a hysterectomy, but she's still not well. And one day she passes out. So she's taken to the hospital and she's unconscious in the hospital bed. And
she, previous to this, has been blowing up Sally's phone because she's assuming that Sally had something to do with Alice finding out about the brother.
But before Sigourney passes out, Alice calls the house talking to Candy Blue and tells her what's up. So Candy confronts Twig, Sigourney's girlfriend.
Partner. I think that we've seen them kiss before. This is the first episode where they see them sharing a bed.
So it's clear, like, they're probably in a relationship.
Sigourney's in her lesbian era after college.
So she's in her lesbian era. So when Sigourney's damn near dead to the bed, that's when Twig rummages through all of her stuff and verifies that, like, yes, this woman who I've shared my life with has been keeping all kinds of secrets.
But she just has to look at her little...
we need to talk more about that.
There's a box that just says Charlie on it.
We need to talk more about that. But another plot point is this dog you mentioned, Alice picked up, is very sick. It's bleeding. It has like
urinary infection.
UTI. And so this very handsome veterinarian helps her, and he likes her.
His name is Moss, played by Xavier Samuel, who you might know from the Twilight franchise. Adore with Naomi Watts and Robin Wright is a really interesting, not very good film though to watch, and a horror film called The Loved Ones, which I love.
And Alice entertains him for a bit, but of course we would imagine that a young lady who's been through what she's been through and living in a battered women's shelter with Sigourney Weaver would probably have interesting views on relationships with men. So she kind of dogs the veterinarian out.
Well, she never, because we have to think that it's really propinquity that allowed for that romance to flourish.
Oh, I didn't even mention. When she finally does get a letter, like she intercepts a letter from Augie, or she finds a letter from Augie.
Yeah.
He explains to her, like, girl, I've been writing you for years and you never responded, so I moved on and I met a lady and we're getting married. Or we got married. So, of course, she is devastated. And then the end of the episode is Twig is mad at Sigourney. Like, F you, like, this is beyond forgivable. As Sigourney, because they talk with the flowers. So Sigourney makes this enormous arrangement and puts it on their bed. And the arrangement means, forgive me, without you, I'm nothing. And Twig tears all that shit up.
She desecrates that, yeah.
So, of course, Sigourney is like...
Sigourney's sobbing, devastated. Yeah. Another important thing to note is while Alice is kind of avoiding Moss, she meets a character named Lulu, who is this park ranger at this national park nearby. And Lulu is affiliated with a character named Dylan, played by Sebastián Zurita, who's going to be... because I've finished the book now, is an important character in the next few episodes. It seems like Dylan might be romantically involved with Lulu, but clearly there's a sexual attraction with Alice. Lulu has asked her to go on this sunset tour, and she lies to Moss about him being able to come so she can be in the vicinity of Dylan. So that is something that's being set up for things to come. We also briefly meet a character named Ruby, played by Shareena Clanton, who I think will be more important. And I think it's important to note, in the first review for the first episode, we credited Alice Hart as being played by Alycia Debnam-Carey. That is her now as a young woman. Alyla Browne has heretofore been playing Alice as a young child.
So in a previous episode, we mentioned Sigourney believes the honey has healing properties. So I bet you never thought you'd see Sigourney Weaver shoving honey up her coochie.
No.
That was an interesting scene.
It's interesting. It's also sad because we know that she believes that the honey has healing properties, and it's clear that she's in a state of decline. And
I mean, it might help with a sore throat, but like they yanked your uterus out, and she has a huge wound because she rips off a bandage. It's like, you need more than honey, girl.
Yeah, she does, but she's in a state of decline.
I'm happy to report Sally does not have bangs in the future.
No, she's used those 14 years wisely.
She's used those 14 years to grow those bangs out.
There's a really good scene because June calls John, because I'm assuming he's still a police officer, 'cause she wants help trying to locate Alice.
And the grandson picks
Charlie picks up the phone, who I don't believe knows that that's his grandmama, but... I'm unclear about that in this version, but...
I'm assuming he doesn't know.
I don't think he knows, but he says something to her and she's so cold to him.
He's trying to explain to her, because we find out that the grandson, Charlie, has had some health issues because he had a rough start being born. Mm-hmm. So in the opening scene of the episode, we see that he's had his final doctor's visit, and he's all clear. So he's excited to tell June, whomever he thinks she is, and Sigourney is not interested in hearing two words from that boy.
She goes, put you down on the phone, I don't have a lot of time. And he is shook.
June is so controlling, and Twig even tells her, how are you any different from the men we're trying to protect these women from? And I think that's a really interesting...
Well, that's, again, we become the things we hate sometimes by not being flexible.
It's frustrating seeing her character operate this way, because it's like you're really destroying the thing you're building.
The self-defense mechanism has now ruined her.
Because now you're losing another daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes, and ironically, her trying to maintain control has brought her outside of control.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But another really good episode.
And again, I think the bones of the book had all these elements there, but how they are arranged, pun intended, is really blossoming.
Do you have anything else?
In the film version. No, I don't.
Hit the thanks button, listen to our podcast. Bye.